Good evening. If I can ask everybody to take their seats, and I appreciate your patience while everybody gets their ducks in a row. Can I please have anyone who is a non-voter sitting in the front row? Is there anybody who's a non-voter that is not in the front row? Thank you. Calling meeting to order, and if I would ask you to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. A few opening remarks. If you're going to make a comment or if you have a question, please come up and use the microphone. All questions that you may have will come through me. I don't allow dialogue back and forth between a person in the audience. And I would ask now if the Finance Committee has any comments they'd like to make.
Hello, everybody. Is this thing working? Nope. How about now? There we go. All right, I want to just thank everybody for showing up tonight. And I'd like to thank quite a few people that were involved with this process of trying to get our town budget in line. The Finance Committee, my fellow Finance Committee members, and I'll just have them stand up and introduce themselves. And myself, I'm Richie Yankowskis. We had quite a process of our budgeting this year. We were, up till just recently, we were pretty short on cash. We appreciate the work of all the department heads who worked with us to get our budget down to where we could afford it. And also a special thanks to the school, Dr. Maureen Marshall and the school committee for working with us and lowering their budget quite a bit of what it started out as. Also, I'd like to thank the selectmen, and a great thanks to Faye Sikowski. She was the backbone of our plan through the whole year, did a lot of work through a transition period of our town administrator, and I'd just like to thank her also. And before I step down, I'd just like to take a moment of silence for Dave Battistoni, who used to be our town administrator, who passed away yesterday. Thank you, and I won't keep you folks any longer. We can get on to business.
Thank you, Richard. One other thing I'd like to point out, a lot of people are afraid of microphones, unlike myself. I don't mind yelling into this thing. Please, when you come up to the microphone, get close, speak loudly so people can hear you, otherwise you're going to have to repeat yourself, okay? I know you probably think I forgot, but now we have to read the opening of the warrant. Town of Barry Annual Town Meeting Warrant, June 20, 2017, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Worcester SS. To the Constables of the Town of Barry in the County of Worcester, greetings in the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, who I hereby directed to notify and warn the inhabitants of the Town of Barry qualified to vote in town elections and town affairs to meet at the Ruggles Lane School Auditorium, 105 Ruggles Lane, on Tuesday, the 23rd of June, 2017, at 6:30 p.m., then and there to act on the following articles. I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading. All in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. You are directed to serve this warrant by posting a attested copy thereof on the bulletin boards at the Ruggles Lane School, 105 Ruggles Lane, the Barry Town Hall, 2 Exchange Street, Town Clerk's Office, 40 West Street, basement, the Henry Woods Building, 40 West Street, first floor, the Woods Memorial Library, 19 Pleasant Street, 50 Main Street, and the Barry Senior Center, 557 South Barry Road. Hereof fail not and make the due return of this warrant with the doings thereon to the Barry Town Clerk at the time and place of said meeting as aforesaid, given under our hands this 7th day of June 2017 AD. Charles Chase, Matthew Urban, Greg O'Sullivan, Selectman, Town of Barry. Constable's return of service, Worcester SS, pursuant to the within warrant. I have notified and warned the inhabitants of the Town of Barry by posting up attested copies of the same in the bulletin boards located at, as previously said, this 8th day of June 2017, Dennis Fleming, Constable, Town of Barry, returned to the Barry Town Clerk at 2:30 p.m. on the 8th day of June 2017 AD. Ellen M. Glidden, Town Clerk. Dennis Fleming, Constable, Town of Barry. Yes. Yes, you may.
Good evening, everyone. I have a couple of corrections. With the appendix in the back, I left out which appendices they are. If you are to go to Article 18, which is the pilot, if you go to the back of your program here, the first documents will be that appendix. A correction, Article 19 does not have an appendix, but Article 20 does. I mislabeled them. So Appendix B is for Article 20. And then Appendix C, they follow in the back in order.
Okay. Do you want to introduce? Fine.
We have a couple introductions to make tonight before we start. Paul put me on the spot up here. I thought he was going to do this, but I guess not. Donnie Berthium, would you like to come on up?
I see the microphone's at Fay height, right? Thank you. It's an honor to be here. I tell Barry, people ask about Barry all the time. I said, Barry's one of those towns that's really hard to get to. It's not really close to anything, but it's the most tight-knit community I have as far as community spirit and community in general overall, especially the veterans. Thank you. So, and a lot of that comes from the people that serve and for all the things and volunteerism that happens in this community. So tonight we'd like to honor two of those people if they could come up. Could Peg Frost and Kathy Inman please come up? It's a surprise, right? Yeah. So Senator Goby couldn't be here tonight. She's still in Boston, but on behalf of myself and her, I'd like to congratulate both of you with a citation from the State House signed by Senator Goby and myself, and I'll read. Kathy, yours is for 30 years. I didn't know your real name was Kathleen. I didn't know that. Is for 30 years of tireless dedication to the citizens of Barry. And Peg, yours is for 32 years. So congratulations. I thank you both very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Representative Berthium.
Yeah, I think it's welded on there.
Don't be afraid to bend down when you get there. Article 1. Yes, sir. Help yourself, Mr. Chase.
Thank you very much. I just wanted, this is pretty low, I guess, but I just wanted to say to Kathy and Peg, I still call you Mrs. Frost. I think that'll be that way with me forever. I remember the school days, so, but when you serve 30 years or 32 years or however, don't worry about it. That's a long time, and that's a lot of dedication and a lot of meetings. I don't know how many meetings. I know we've been running them sometimes here the last few weeks, two a day. So 30 years and 32 years, two a day, and now it's not that way every week, but that's probably thousands of meetings, and that is true dedication on behalf of the town of Barry, and that deserves a special thanks. And I think that very few of us at times can pass through and say, look back and say how much we've made a difference. But these two individuals and their families then I have to give you credit, Brian, because there was probably some missed meals there. Yes, I kind of thought that might be the case, but that's a lot of meetings, and that's a true amount of dedication. And when we pass through and we live in a society such as this one, we may have our moments of disagreement or discussion. It can be heated, but when you look back and you can say, these people made a difference. And for that, we should be grateful. And they made a difference in the quality of life of this town. And for that, we should say thank you. So Kathy, Mrs. Frost, I still got to say the Mrs. Frost. So thank you. Now, I'd like to, we weren't really planning this, Mr. Moderator. We weren't really planning this, but I would like to recognize that while we haven't reached an agreement, we have our town administrator, the individual that we selected, and he is here tonight, and that's Andrew Gullis. He's works for the town of Palmer. I believe you're a Bronzeville resident, so welcome to Barry. So anyway, with that said, I'll turn the floor back over so you can run the meeting. And I know you don't fear the microphone.
No.
Thank you.
Okay, the new rule is when you get to the microphone, pick it up and speak into it, or no one will hear anything. Article 1, to see if the town will vote to choose all other town officers, agents, and committees not elected by ballot or appointed or take any action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to pass over Article 1 to choose town officers. Not pass over. What? To choose all other town officers and agencies not elected, agents and committees not elected by ballot or appointed, having already been acted upon.
All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. Article 2, to see if the town will vote to hear the reports of the Selectmen, Finance Committee, School Committee, and any other department or committee, and act thereon or take any action in relation thereto. Mr. Rutherford.
Mr. Moderator. Article 2, I move that the town vote to accept the reports of the Selectmen, School Committee, and any other department or committee with all annual reports, with the exception of the Finance Committee.
Motion made, seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to accept any and all state highway assistance funds authorized by the state legislature and approved by Massachusetts Department of Transportation Highway Division in the so-called Chapter 90 Highway Assistance Program to be expended for the maintenance, repair, and construction of town roads in anticipation of reimbursement under the direction of the Board of Selectmen for work on roads located on the state aid primary system as approved by the Massachusetts DOT Highway Division, and further to authorize the treasurer collector with approval of the Board of Selectmen to borrow money from time to time during fiscal year 2018 up to the reimbursable amount for the period from July 1, 2017 to June 30, 2018 in anticipation of reimbursement of said highway assistance in conformity with the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 6A, and take any action in relation thereto. Yes, sir.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to accept any and all state highway assistance funds authorized by the state legislature and approved by Massachusetts Department of Transportation Highway Division under the so-called Chapter 90 Highway Assistance Program to be expended for the maintenance, repair, and construction of town roads in anticipation of reimbursement under the direction of the Board of Selectmen for work on roads located on the state aid primary system as approved by the Massachusetts Department of Transportation Highway Division, and further to authorize the treasurer collector with the approval of the Board of Selectmen to borrow money from time to time during fiscal year 2018 up to the reimbursable amount for the period from July 1st, 17 through June 30th, 18 in anticipation of reimbursement of said highway assistance in the conformity with the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 6A.
Motion made, seconded. Finance Committee, please. Favorable recommendation from the Finance Committee. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Article 4, to see if the town will vote to authorize the treasurer collector with the approval of the board of selectmen to borrow money from time to time in anticipation of revenue for the 12-month period beginning July 1, 2017, in accordance with the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 4, and to renew any note or notes as may be given for a period of less than 1 year, and taking the action in relation thereto. Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you. I move the town vote to authorize the treasurer collector with the approval of the Board of Selectmen to borrow money from time to time in anticipation of the revenue of the fiscal 2018 year to the period from July 1, 2017 through June 30, 2018, in conformity with the provisions of the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 4, and to issue a note or notes as may be given for a period of less than 1 year in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 17, and to authorize the treasurer collector to enter into a compensating balance agreement or agreements for fiscal year 2018 pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53F.
Motion is made and seconded. Finance Committee. Favorable recommendation from the Finance Committee. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous? Thank you.
Thank you.
Article 5, to see if the town will vote to amend the general bylaws of the town of Barry by adding a new section to establish and authorize revolving funds for use by certain town departments, boards, committees, agencies, or officers under the Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53, E and a half, and taking the action in relation thereto. Mr. Chase.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the general bylaws of the town of Barry by adding a new section to establish and authorize revolving funds for use by certain departments, boards, committees, agencies, or officers under Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and 1/2.
Motion is made and seconded. Finance Committee, please. Favorable recommendation. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous? Thank you. Article 6, to see if the town will vote to authorize revolving funds for certain town departments pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53, E and a half, for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2017, and taking the action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I make a motion that the town vote to authorize revolving funds for the library, Board of Health, electrical inspector, plumbing inspector, gas inspector, police department, council on aging, and town departments utilizing permitting software pursuant to MGL 44, Section 53E and a half for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2018, as printed in the Finance Committee booklet.
Motion is made, seconded. Finance Committee, please. Favorable recommendation from the Finance Committee. Do you have the motion? Just a clerical correction in the motion. He said 2018, it's 2017 for the fiscal year. In any event, any questions on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Article 7, to see if the town will vote to allow the Board of Assessors to appoint one of its members to a paid part-time position under their supervision as allowed by Mass General Laws, Chapter 268A, Section 21A, and taking action in relation thereto. Mr. Chief.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town to vote to authorize the Board of Assessors to appoint one of its members to a part-time position under their supervision as allowed by Mass General Law, Chapter 268A, Section 21A.
Motion made, seconded. Finance Committee. Favorable recommendation from the Finance Committee. Is there any discussion on the motion? Yes, sir.
Moderator, could we have a brief explanation of this motion?
Yes, you may, Mr. Cheatham.
The current working assessor has decided to retire,
Robin.
so now...
Robin.
20
Closer to the mic.
Closer to the mic. Yes, the Board of Assessors has always had a working assessor to keep tabs on what's going on in the assessor's office. And the working assessor, who's my predecessor, has decided to retire. So we're now having a new working assessor.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Any other? Yes, sir.
So has this position been filled already? Do we have somebody?
Yes, it has.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous, thank you. Article 8, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available funds a sum of money to pay for costs associated with the assessor's triennial recertification of properties, special appraisal expenses, cyclical reinspection, and annual interim value adjustments, or taking action in relation thereto. Mr. Chief.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $20,000 for costs associated with the assessor's triannual recertification of property, raise and appropriate $1,500 for special appraisal expenses, and raise and appropriate $6,000 for cyclical reinspection costs, and raise and appropriate $7,700 annual interim value adjustment for a total of $35,200.
Motion's made and seconded. Finance Committee, please. Favorable recommendation from the Finance Committee. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous, thank you. Article 9, to see if the town will vote to amend the appropriations and source of funds for certain accounts for the fiscal year 2017 adopted at the June 16 annual town meeting, or take any action in relation thereto.
Thank you. I move that the town vote to amend the appropriation for fiscal year 2017 operating budget and sources of funds for certain accounts for the following item. To transfer the sum of $6,706 from free cash to line 47, police chief salary.
Motion's made, seconded. Finance Committee. Favorable recommendation from the Finance Committee. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Thank you.
Article 10, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, borrow, transfer from available funds a sum of money to the fiscal year 2017 snow removal overtime/part-time account, or taking action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $29,092 from free cash to the FY 2017 snow removal overtime account.
Motion's made and seconded. Finance Committee. Favorable recommendation from the Finance Committee. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous? Thank you. Article 11, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available funds a sum of money to the fiscal year 2017 snow removal expense account, or taking action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to transfer $101,254 from free cash to the FY 17 snow removal expense account.
Is there a second? Motion made, seconded. Finance Committee. Favorable recommendation from the Finance Committee. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous? Article 12, to see see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available funds such sums as may be deemed necessary to pay town charges and expenses for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2017, and to vote to fix salary and compensation of all elected officials of the town in accordance with the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 108, effective July 1, 2017, and make all appropriations for the same and take the action in relation thereto. Mr. Chase.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town fix the salaries and compensation of all elected officers of the town as provided by Section 108 of Chapter 41 of Mass General Laws as amended to raise and appropriate from available funds in the Treasury for departmental and incidental expenses of the town for the ensuing years as follows. To raise and appropriate $806,900 to pay costs of general government as shown in the Finance Committee booklet.
Motion made, second. We have a standard second in the crowd. Finance Committee, favorable recommendation from the Finance Committee. Is there any discussion on this motion? Does everybody understand what we're discussing? Page 11 in the booklet. Excellent. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Public safety? Yes? Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to skip to the school budget because we have people that have to be in other places. So, because they have to be at other town meetings, and I'm making that decision unless you really want to make me not make that decision. Thank you. Pardon me? It's the school budget on page
16.
16.
On page 16. I apologize to the Assembly. OCAM's town meeting is ongoing. I'm due there as soon as you can release me from this, and I apologize for the inconvenience to the Assembly. Monty Tech is generally before the Quabbin Regional School District. If someone is here to do the Monty Tech.
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $306,727,000 to pay the costs of Montechusett Technical School as shown in the Finance Committee booklet.
Motion made and seconded, and for everybody's edification, that's page 16 under Monty Tech. Do you have any questions? Finance Committee? Favorable recommendation from the Finance Committee. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Quabbin Region.
I move the town vote to raise and appropriate $5,288,612 to pay the cost of the Quabbin Regional School District as shown in the Finance Committee booklet.
Motion is made and seconded. Finance Committee. Finance Committee recommends favorable on this motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $53,306 to pay the cost of the Quabbin Regional High School debt service as shown in the Finance Committee booklet.
Motion made, seconded, Finance Committee. Is there any discussion on the motion? Mr. Chase.
Mr. Moderator, I would just like to extend the board appreciation, and I think I speak for the Finance Committee as well, but to thank the school committee, our representatives, and Superintendent Marshall and her staff, and Cheryl Duval. I think we've had a very, very positive working relationship with the school district, between the town and the district. I think they've recognized some of the problems and issues that we faced, and we recognize their issues, and hopefully I think it looks to a better beginning and a better move forward for us
Closer to the
all.
mic, Charlie.
It looks for a better, sorry about that. I hope it looks to a much more a positive future for us, for the town's general government and school department. So it has indeed been a pleasure. We recognize the problems. We recognize at times that discussions can get pretty tense, but the goal is to work things out for the betterment of our town. So I'd just like to say to Superintendent Marshall, thank you.
Wait, did we vote on that? I didn't think so. Any discussion on the motion?
Right now,
Yes, sir.
I have a question. The kids at Stetson Hall, are they getting paid by Stetson Hall, or are we paying for them to go there as a taxpayer?
The students or the children who are at Stetson Home at the Seven Hills Foundation Group Home are students that are placed there by DCF. It is our responsibility to maintain some educational opportunities for them through our special education program. Some of those students do, very few, but some do attend school in the Quabbin Regional School District. And no, we are not compensated for those students who attend school here. Most of the students who are there are sent out to various other placements, educational placements, where their needs can be better serviced. We do not pay for any of that. That is paid for by the district where the child has resided before being placed in the group home. Students who are at the Stetson School are residential students who go to school at the Stetson School. So, as you know, in previous years, we only had the Stetson School. Now we have a group home on the premises, and yes, it does cost the district some monies that are not reimbursed from the state or from the sending communities.
Dollars and cents, what are we paying taxpayers?
Well, it's very difficult to say on any given day. I would have to go and see how many students we have and actually attending school. I'm going to say you probably have 4 to 5 students who attend school. The rest of the 30 students are sent to various collaboratives and other school settings. What takes a considerable amount of money is the administrative time from our special education department, our school psychologists, and to manage that student load. So that is the most expensive part. We have certainly been working with our legislators about that group home. We are not alone. Wachusett has 2 group homes at Devereaux School. Many school districts have group homes. You have to understand that there are tens of thousands of children in DCF custody, and they don't live at home. They live in group homes and foster placements across the Commonwealth. And how they're supported, again, that's all legislative action, and you'd really have to talk with Senator Goby and Representative Berthium, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done to ferret out what is the best way to educate children who are in DCF custody and who should pay. Okay.
Thank you.
I understand the education part and stuff, but the funding part is, has anybody tried to go to Seven Hills and try to get the funding? Because I pay as a taxpayer, I don't have any kids in those schools.
Well, Seven Hills is simply a group home established by DCF. It's DCF, and it's the governor and the legislature. They are the ones who have put together this particular program without appropriate funding for the local school districts that support the program. We continue to work with our legislators to try to get funding for that program, but those children reside in our school district even if they are in a group home, and we do have responsibilities for their education.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous, thank you. Heading back to public safety, I believe. Page 12. Do you have a motion?
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $153,726 to pay the cost of dispatch as shown in the Finance Committee booklet.
Help them out.
Second.
How are we doing this? No. Motion is made and seconded, Finance Committee. Favorable recommendation from Finance Committee. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous, thank you.
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $685,768 to pay the cost of police as shown in the Finance Committee booklet.
Motion made and seconded, Finance. Favorable recommendation from the Finance Committee. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous, thank you. Chief? Ambulance? Go ahead, Mr. Cohen, don't be shy.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $107,013 from free cash, transfer $315,000 from ambulance receipts, transfer $10,000 from the Braintree receipts for EMS services, transfer $12,000 from the Holden Hospital account for a total of $444,013 to pay the cost of ambulance as shown in the Finance Committee booklet.
Motion is made and seconded. Finance Committee. Favorable recommendation from the Finance Committee. Is there any discussion on this motion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous, thank you. Chief?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $230,000 to pay the cost of fire as shown in the Finance Committee booklet.
Motion is made and seconded. Finance Committee. Favorable recommendation from the Finance Committee. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous, thank you. Animal control.
Mr. Moderator, I make a motion that the town move to raise and appropriate $11,587 to pay the cost of animal control as shown in the Finance Committee booklet.
Motion made and seconded. Finance Committee. Favorable recommendation from the Finance Committee. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous? Emergency Management.
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $1,000 to pay the cost of civil defense as shown in the Finance Committee booklet.
Motion made and seconded. Finance Committee. Any discussion on the motion? What's this for? I'll ask a question because I'm bored.
This is for civil defense, former civil defense, which is now emergency management.
What do they do?
Manage the emergencies of the town.
Okay. Thank you. Any other discussions? Any discussion on the motion? Come on, folks. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Thank you. Building Department.
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $98,427 to pay the cost of the building department, raise and appropriate $1,014 to pay the cost of the zoning board of appeals, raise and appropriate $11,828 to pay the cost of the planning board, raise and appropriate $7,828 to pay the cost for the conservation for a total of $119,097 as shown in the Finance Committee booklet.
Motion is made and seconded. Finance Committee, favorable recommendation from the Finance Committee. Is there any discussion on the motion? Yes, sir.
In the building department, I see some large negatives, and I see some large positives, and I understand there's some connection between one town and another, that our building inspector works with another town, or the other town works with the town of Barry, and seeing all these pluses and minuses with an increase of 25, perhaps somebody could come and clarify some of these issues. Thank you.
We've entered a sort of a community agreement with other towns for the commissioner position for the building inspector. So this reflects the total cost. We're hosting, paying the salary, and it also reflects the plumbing and gas and other inspectors. What it doesn't reflect is in the revenue side, which is elsewhere in the budget, we have monies coming back, which more than offset the money that we're paying out. So it actually is a net savings for us for this fiscal year.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Public Works?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $672,228 to pay the cost of DPW administration, town roads, and snow removal, and raise and appropriate $24,650 to pay the cost of parks and commons, raise and appropriate $30,000 to pay the cost of streetlights, raise and appropriate $34,185 to pay the cost of cemetery, raise and appropriate $5,000 to pay the cost of tree warden, for a total of $766,063, as shown in the Finance Committee booklet.
Motion is made and seconded. Finance Committee. Favorable recommendation from the Finance Committee. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous? Thank you. Culture and Recreation.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $6,000 to pay the costs of recreation, raise and appropriate $2,490 to pay the costs of the Youth Commission, raise and appropriate $1,203 to pay the cost of the Historical Commission, raise and appropriate $1,500 for holiday decorations, raise and appropriate $206,913 to pay the cost for the library, for a total of $218,106, as shown in the Finance Committee booklet.
Motion is made and seconded. Finance Committee recommends favorably on this motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous? Thank you. Health and Human Services.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $98,885 to pay the cost of the veterans' benefits, to raise and appropriate $46,905 to pay the cost of the Board of Health, to raise and appropriate $60,640 to pay the cost for the Council on Aging, for a total of $206,430, as shown in the Finance Committee booklet.
Motion made and seconded. Finance Committee recommends favorably on this motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous? Insurance?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $778,587. Let's rephrase that. $778,587 to pay the cost of the insurance and benefits as shown in the Finance Committee booklet.
Motion's made and seconded. Finance Committee, please. Favorable recommendation from the Finance Committee. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous? Jack?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $410,104, transfer from $75,000 from sewer retained earnings, transfer $32,031 from water retained earnings for a total of $517,135 to pay the cost of maturing debt and interest as shown in the Finance Committee booklet.
Motion's made and seconded. Finance Committee recommends favorably on this motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous? Purchasing?
I make a motion, or I should say, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $77,700 to pay the cost of central purchasing as shown in the Finance Committee booklet.
Motion made and seconded. Finance Committee recommends favorably on the motion. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous? That looks like it concludes Article 12. We'll move on to Article 13. You see, right, back, and going back to page 6. Thank you. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available, wait a minute. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, borrow, or transfer from sewer receipts a sum of money for the operations and maintenance of the municipal sewer system for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2017, and taking action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $632,278 from anticipated sewer receipts and $45,000 from sewer retained earnings for a total of $677,278 for the operation and maintenance of the municipal sewer system as shown in the Finance Committee booklet.
Motion made and seconded. Finance Committee recommendation on that? Finance Committee recommends favorably on that motion. Yes, sir.
Should that be 632, 279, 278?
We have to up it $1. 632,279. I guess there was an error made when this was written up.
Is there any other discussion on the motion? Make sure you write that correctly on the sheet. Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Article 14, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, borrow, or transfer from water receipts, a sum of money for the operation and maintenance of the municipal water system for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2017, and taking action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $477,930 from anticipated water receipts for the operation and maintenance of the municipal water department, as shown in the Finance Committee booklet.
Motion made and seconded. Finance Committee recommends favorably on the motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Yes. Article 15, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds a sum of money for the purpose of paying for the GASB-45 audit or taking action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $5,000 from free cash to pay for the GASB 45 audit.
Motion's made and seconded. Finance Committee recommends favorably on the motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Oh, yes, sir.
My usual question, Mr. Moderator, could somebody explain this in a sentence or two?
I hope I can. What we have is we're in preparation, the state and Department of Revenue is requesting that we establish and prepay into some of our pension liabilities, and we are starting to lay the groundwork for that. Now, I can tell you what the letters stand for in a minute. If you just give me 1 minute, I'll get that. Excuse me, I got the articles misaligned here. This is for our own, some of our own treasury and audits of some of our own books. The next article deals with what I was referring to. I apologize for that mistake.
Did everybody hear the answer? Charlie, please speak close.
Okay.
Right up close, it won't bite.
I know it won't bite. What we are doing is we are doing audits of our own books, and it will help us to do that, and we are required to do partial audits each year on our own books. And I apologize for the confusion because I had 2 articles coming with similar abbreviation, so I apologize for that. But we have traditionally done this over the years, and I think it's a requirement of 2.5 anyway. We do partial audits and then a full audit. So that's what this is for. And it's pretty much standard. If you want to know what the letters stand for, it's Government Accounting Standard Budgets, I believe is what it stands for. So I hope I've made it clear. I apologize for any confusion that I've put forward here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous, thank you. Article 16, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds a sum of money for the purpose of paying the OPEB or take any action in relation thereto.
Don't be surprised. It's going to surprise you all if you actually read anything. I move that the town vote to transfer $25,000 from free cash to pay for other post-employment benefits fund.
Motion made. Is there a second? Motion is made and seconded. Finance Committee. Finance Committee recommends unfavorably on the motion. Does the Finance Committee want to tell us why they recommend unfavorably on the motion, since someone will ask that question? Microphone, please.
Basically, when we had our when we had our public meeting last week, we had $5,000 in our budget. So we didn't know about this 25,000. That's the only reason we're unfavorable right now.
Mr. Oden?
I do understand at the public meeting last week, we represented a $5,000 number for this. Also at that public meeting, we also represented, we did not know the final free cash value. Free cash value came in at a beneficial number to the town. With that said, our treasurer, working with the consultant stated that to start this fund, which is what this will do, the best number to start at is $25,000. Now that we have free cash to do it, my suggestion is rather than putting free cash into the stabilization fund, we put it into a separate fund that's designed to cover other post-employment costs, so such as the health care and the dental that we give to our retirees. So my recommendation is to put a greater base into that fund now so it has a better return on investment over the years. If we start at $5,000 versus $25,000, it's not to our benefit. Since we have a significant amount of free cash coming in versus what we were hoping, I recommend to put the extra $20,000 in. And that's why I made the motion as I did.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Moderator, why doesn't the FinCom want the extra money? I understand there's a difference between what was proposed last week, but why don't you want to add the 20,000?
Please go to the microphone. Thank you. Good testimony.
We had a meeting prior to this meeting, and this should have been brought up to us at that time, so we would have known the changes, but it wasn't. So it's a matter of principle.
Yes, sir.
I do understand, and I apologize for my lack of experience. I went into that meeting, and I was trying to catch up. We were debating other numbers at the time, if you recall, and I missed the fact that this wasn't raised at $25,000 because at our Board of Selectmen meeting last night, we as a board discussed this, and we recommended at the meeting to bring it to $25,000. So I apologize that we didn't bring it back to your attention earlier. I'm sorry that I missed it when I was distracted thinking about other items we were discussing, and I just missed it. This was not an intent to undermine anything, and it was definitely a lack of experience, so I apologize.
Is there any other discussion on the motion? Yes, sir.
Yeah, just a question. What's going to be the starting salary if we hire somebody for it, an additional after the working 3 hours?
It doesn't have anything to do with salaries. No. We're not hiring anybody. It's for benefits for post-employment expenses, correct? Retired people. Yeah.
To give you health and dental.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. The question is there enough money in the budget now to pay for our health and dental for the retirees?
Right now, we're attempting to fund that through our health insurance and dental insurance through yearly appropriations. We do not have a fund set up for the long-term costs that this will accrue to the town in the future. So yes, we have the ability to pay this year for the retirees in the program this year. But what this is intended to do is start creating a fund that will cover future costs that we're not preparing for today. And so this is a similar system of, you could consider it an off-branch of like Social Security. Is it funded or not? And no, I'm not saying it's a retirement payment to you, but it's still a retirement benefit that will need to be funded. And the recommendation to the treasurer from our consultant was to create a fund and start with a minimum of $25,000 so that, I believe it was within 20 years, we would be considered break even, so the fund would actually be able to cover those costs on their own at that point. So you could picture it growing just like you would picture a 401k growing. If you get a stronger base to start with, you get a bigger return on your interest. If you start with a lower one, it takes you longer to make it self-sufficient. Right now, this fund will not be self-sufficient to do that, but it's the intent to grow a fund that will create its own self-sufficient ability to cover the health and dental programs and other post-employment benefits. And that's what the consultant recommended. So that's why I suggested, with the higher free cash that came back, we would take a portion of that and put it into that fund rather than just leave it into the stabilization fund.
Not actually being spent, it's placed in a different account.
The different savings account.
Not spent.
Is there any other discussion on the motion? Everybody understand the motion? Will you take a vote? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Motion carries. Article 17, to see if the town will vote to grant an easement for solar photovoltaic equipment to be placed on town property for a term up to 25 years of taking action in relation thereto. Mr. Clement.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to grant an easement for a solar photovoltaic equipment to be placed upon town property for a term of up to 25 years.
Motion is made and seconded. Finance Committee, please. Favorable recommendation from the Finance Committee. Yes, ma'am. The question is, who gets the money from the solar array on town property? Yes, sir.
The money, the benefit to the town would go against our electric bill at our wastewater treatment plant. It's in the works right now. It's not set in stone. We want to have the ability to enter an agreement if we meet terms that would be beneficial to the town of Barry. Yeah.
Jason, why don't you explain a little bit more about what you're doing so we don't keep asking questions? Where is this? How are you anticipating it working? Who are you negotiating with?
We're in negotiations right now with Select Energy. They are the ones we purchased the system from last town meeting for the DPW building. That system has been installed and up and running. It's working very well. I don't know if Frank wants to touch on anything. We have plans in place right now for the wastewater treatment plant that would go against our electric bill. The wastewater treatment plant is a very large user of electricity, so it would just be a less amount that we pay per year at the wastewater plant. We haven't come up with a set location for the array as of right now, so that's what we're in the works of, coming up with a location that won't affect our operation but would still benefit the town of Barry as far as savings.
Thank you. Jason, this motion is simply to authorize you to provide an easement.
Right.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on it? Yes, ma'am.
What town property are you going to put this photovoltaic on?
It would be at the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay, on the property around the wastewater.
That's correct.
Thank you. Any other questions on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous, thank you. To see if the town will vote, Article 18, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to negotiate and enter into a payment in lieu of tax agreement pilot with Borrego Solar pursuant to MGL Chapter 59, Section 38H, or taking action in relation thereto. Mr. Chief.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to enter into a payment in lieu of tax agreement pilot with Borrego Solar, a copy of which is attached to the Finance Committee booklet as Exhibit A. I further move that the town vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to hereby be and hereby authorized to negotiate and enter into similar pilot agreements with other developers of solar projects in the town pursuant of Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 38HB.
Motion's made and seconded, Finance Committee. Finance Committee recommends favorably on this motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. So looking at the attachments, I guess a couple of questions. Number one, if we're allowing them 25 years, maybe I'm jumping ahead, 25 years to use this, but we're only doing a payments for 20 years, are they going to pay taxes for those other 5 years, or what's the deal with the other 5 years? That's number one. And number two is that if we're talking payment in lieu of taxes, what would the town be getting if we tax them? What's the difference there? Are we gaining a benefit over the 20 years?
Thank you.
I'll have to refer that to town council.
And I was just getting ready to take a nap. The answer to this is complicated and yet very simple. Under our wonderful laws that have been passed and kept in place down in Boston, there are provisions that allow solar facilities, because they qualify as an energy producing facility, to not pay personal property taxes on their hardware, the facility's hardware, which would include all the panels and the uprights and things like that. If they exercise that, we get zip. So in a compromise with this particular solar facility, and we hope others, we will get a payment in lieu of taxes, which will be a plus to the town rather than a big zero, which would be a minus.
Did you want to follow up on the 20-year versus 25-year?
Whether it's 20 or 25, you're not going to make it any better by extending the pilot, because it's been calculated very diligently by the assessor's office as a compromise number that works nicely with all the figures that they've worked out. Whether that facility will actually be there in more than 20 years, we don't know yet.
Yes, sir.
Wouldn't the town get money on taxes for the land but not the equipment? Is that what I'm hearing, or nothing at all?
Would the town give taxes for the land as well? Yes, they would.
Okay, so the question is dollars and cents, and I haven't heard anything. How much, what's the difference?
I think it's...
Nobody's answered.
Jim, are we getting real estate taxes in addition to the pilot? Okay. We're getting real estate taxes in addition to the pilot. I'm not sure it's a matter of difference. You're getting both. Yes, sir.
I'd like town council to explain in more detail. He said something that under some rule, the town does not receive personal property taxes, but does receive real estate taxes. Is that correct? And they're paying a pilot instead of the personal property taxes, but you said that they didn't have to pay the personal property taxes based on some regulation. So can you clarify that?
I thought I made it clear. Under our general laws, which our people that run down to Boston have control over. There is a loophole that provides that a solar facility, because it qualifies as an energy production facility, if its output goes to certain places, is exempt from paying personal property on its equipment. All right? Zero would be zero. The assessors have worked out with this particular solar facility a compromise, rather than fighting that they will pay in lieu of those personal property taxes that they don't have to pay, a sum of money to the town. So the town's going to get something that it might not get. It will still be able to tax the real estate. The real estate will be determined on the value of the real estate, and that bill will not be affected either way, up or down, by the pilot. Did that make it any clearer?
Crystal clear.
I gladly appreciate the moderator saying I explained it. I'm going to Canada in a couple of weeks. I'm going to learn French. So next time when I answer some of your questions, I'll see how well I can do it in French.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Moderator, if I'm correct, this facility is the one that is currently being built between Warwinet and South Street, and there's a great deal of construction going on right now. If I understand Town Council's response, if we fail to vote yes on this article, that construction will be completed. The town will gain no benefit from it economically. If we do vote yes on this article, we will receive, in addition to the real estate taxes which are washing away, we will receive payment in lieu of taxes and therefore wind up ahead. Is that your understanding, Mr. Moderator?
That's my understanding, correct, Mr. Baird? Correct.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Just one more follow-up. So once this is done, I see it's 1.3 megawatts. Does the town anticipate to get any electricity for our purposes out of this structure?
No,
No.
not directly. It goes into the web, the net, and then we draw it back from the net.
There's no arrangement that's been entered into with this particular facility to buy any of the power that's being generated, if that's what your question is. Now, I'm going to correct something I said earlier, because all of a sudden I realized I'd made a small mistake. The property where this is, previous to this point, was taxed under 61A. It's a lower tax rate, meaning that the property owner was paying a lower real estate tax for that facility. As a result of the property being put into a solar facility status, it had to be taken out of 61A, and its real estate taxes actually will go up somewhat from what they were. So that is a plus to the town also.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous? Thank you. Moving on to Article 19, to see if the town will vote to amend the code of the town of Barry by adding a new section entitled Digging and Exploration on Town Properties, including but not limited to common parks and cemeteries, and taking action in relation thereto. Yes, sir.
Mr. Moderator, I've made a slight revision to this article for clarity. I move that the town vote to amend the code of the town of Barry by adding a new section entitled Digging and Exploration on Town Properties. Number 1, no person may dig or disturb the soil on any town property, including but not limited to commons, parks, and cemeteries, that is owned or controlled by the town of Barry, without specific written permission from the body, board, committee, or commission that has control over the property Then the Board of Selectmen may grant such permission. Number 2, definitions. Dig or disturb. To include, but not limited to, the intentional act of penetrating the soil surface with any tool or instrument in order to locate and remove an object. This includes use of a metal detector to locate a coin or other object, and use of a tool or instrument to remove said coin or object.
Motion made, seconded, Finance Committee, please. Favorable recommendation from the Finance Committee. Is there any discussion on the motion? Yes, sir. The question is, are we having a major problem with people digging on the common?
The answer to that is yes. On the common and in some of the parks, there's been some disturbance of the soil and holes from people looking for metal objects.
Any other discussion on the motion? Oh, yes, sir.
How about when I go over a weed around the training cup and I'm pulling out weeds with a shovel? Am I allowed to do that without getting arrested?
The answer to that is yes. You're not removing objects from underground. You're gardening. Right.
Is there any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous, thank you. Article 20, to see if the town will vote to amend the code of the town of Barry zoning by adding a new section, temporary moratorium on recreational marijuana establishments until December 31, 2018, to allow the town time to adopt zoning bylaw amendments that regulate recreational marijuana establishments and taking action in relation thereto. Yes, sir.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the code of the town of Barry zoning by adding a new section, 140.12, temporary moratorium on recreational marijuana establishments. During this temporary moratorium, no land or structures may be used as a recreational marijuana establishment and other uses related to recreational marijuana. The moratorium shall be in effect through December 31st, 2018, or until such time as the town adopts zoning bylaw amendments that regulate recreational marijuana establishments, whichever occurs earlier. During the moratorium period, the town shall undertake a planning process to address the potential impacts of recreational marijuana in town and to consider the Cannabis Control Commission regulations regarding recreational marijuana establishments, and shall consider adopting new zoning bylaws in response to these new issues. And you can see this in the motion in the Appendix B in the financial booklet.
Motion is made and seconded. Finance Committee, recommendation on this? No, pardon? You are recommending no action, or you aren't making a recommendation? There's a big difference. Okay, they're now making a recommendation. Planning Board?
The Planning Board recommends approval of this motion.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the motion? Yes, sir.
Just one thing. Again, this is not necessarily to change the intent of this article, but section 140.12, recreational marijuana establishment shall mean a marijuana cultivator, marijuana testing facility, marijuana product manufacturer, marijuana retailer, or any other type of licensed marijuana related business. I believe that if we do it that way, we're not in line with separating this from a medical marijuana facility that would also be a marijuana cultivator, marijuana testing facility, marijuana production manufacturer. So it may need to be revised. I don't recall the proper MGL that controls the medical marijuana industry, but as not defined by MGL, I think it might have been 700 something. I forget the actual reference, but I don't believe this should be applying to medical facilities because, well, it does not, it says recreational marijuana establishment shall mean any marijuana facility. It does not separate medical in the definition. So I'm just saying for clarity, I believe we should be clear on that. Mostly because we just went through a non-opposition letter regarding that particular subject, and I think it's just better to be clear in how we're defining a recreational facility from a medical one, and this does not separate the two.
Perhaps the addition of for non-medical purposes follow that definition, but not include medical.
I mean, I'm okay with that. I don't. It's section 141.2.
Point of information, is the selectman proposing an amendment to the bylaw?
He hasn't proposed one, but I believe he's discussing that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Point of information? Why in the proposed bylaw did the proponents change the language from non-medical marijuana establishment to recreational marijuana establishment?
Okay, let me answer this question. The answer to your question is the language in there that talks about non-medical marijuana facilities was put there to distinguish that recreational marijuana from the medical. Medical marijuana is regulated under a different act than what the recreational is going to be regulated under.
And what's wrong with non-medical marijuana as language than recreational marijuana? I mean, the term recreational marijuana raises up visions of people sitting around getting high all the time, when recreational marijuana may not be that at all.
Well, we could change that language and take out the reference to non-medical and just call it recreational marijuana. And then the moratorium would apply to that.
Well, I also have a question about whether
Here.
is this kind of a process, this moratorium on recreational marijuana, is a similar process required when we are considering a new recreational alcohol establishment?
So are we making any amendments to the motion, or is it?
Yes, we are.
Well, hold on. They're going to make an amendment, and then we'll deal with whatever it is you have.
But the state law that was passed says recreational marijuana. The city, that's the language. And that's it.
Okay. All right. To quickly get back to your thought, I believe where we're talking about the reference of a non-medical marijuana establishment, and then in parentheses it says hereafter reference as recreational marijuana establishment. The reason that hereafter recreational is because that's how the state refers to it. And it's to have consistent naming so that our bylaw is consistent with the state laws currently in place until we know better. So just for the moratorium portion, we're just keeping wording consistent. Does that help you at least understand the intent of why that was put in that way? But I'm sorry, that was a question to you, to her. But I'll move on to my motion to amend section 140.12, the definition. Sticking with the existing wording, recreational marijuana establishment shall mean a marijuana cultivator, marijuana testing facility, marijuana product manufacturer, marijuana retailer, or any other type of licensed marijuana-related business that is not a medical facility as defined by the state or by the Commonwealth. I don't know what the correct wording on that one. How would we? As not defined by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
So thank you for your patience. What we're going to have here is a revision, a friendly amendment to the main motion. He's amending his own motion so we don't have to do a subsequent amendment. He's just going to add some language at the end. So why don't you read the language that you're putting at the end of the motion? The rest of it stays the same, correct?
Correct.
All right.
Recreational marijuana establishment shall mean a marijuana cultivator, marijuana testing facility, marijuana product manufacturer, marijuana retailer, or any other type of licensed marijuana-related business, not including medical marijuana facilities as defined by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Does everybody understand the amendment? Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, you.
Yes. Should we cite the law?
Hold on. Get back. Yes. The question was, does town council agree with that? The answer was yes. Yes, sir.
And should we not cite, after that language, shouldn't we not cite the specific section of the law, Massachusetts state law, that covers medical marijuana?
Why restrict us? Why not use any applicable law to say that?
You don't have to, I guess, is the answer.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Moderator, I understand the intent is because the state law has not settled down yet. But when it comes to the part of marijuana cultivator, aren't we in the process of saying yes to that agricultural aspect of marijuana being grown in the town? And therefore, aren't we putting a halt to that by this amendment, by this article?
The intent of the language was for it to apply to a commercial cultivator of marijuana, not the home use, which is already allowed by the law that was passed, or the popular referendum.
I think that's what she's concerned about is the commercial cultivation that we have in the works right now. That's what she's concerned about.
Right.
The one that's in the works is a medical facility. So that is the exemption that's in here. That will be a medical marijuana production facility. There will be no site sales in town, but it is medical. And that's already, the state already has the regulations that's already approved, and that would not be covered under this moratorium. That's what the exemption's for.
Are there any other questions on the motion? Does everyone understand the motion with the friendly amendment? Yes, sir.
What's the fear behind this?
Did you really just ask that? What is the fear behind this? We could be here all night. I think everybody knows the fear behind it. You just have to vote however you wish to vote. Otherwise, I'll pass out up here. I appreciate the question, but I don't think there's an answer to that. Although Mr. O'Sullivan does.
A short answer is, since there are no state laws or regulations, and we have no local laws or regulations, like the sale of alcohol, there's regulations and rules. There would be none. So we need to have a hiatus to give ourselves time to make sure we establish the rules that this community wants set forth, and how it's going to be grown, where it's going to be grown, how it's going to be sold, and et cetera. So without this time, we can't have any rules to protect the community. And that's why it says that until that date or the rules are established, whichever comes first.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
My question is, did I just understand you to say that if the state settles its regulatory structure before December 2018, that you would adopt the regulatory structure of the state? Is that the intent?
I don't think that's what he said. And this runs out at that point, so they have to do something before that point. Right?
moratorium will run out in December
Right.
31st of 2018. And this is to make sure there's some time, I believe their intent, we didn't draft this, the planning board did. It gives us some time to make these rules once the states are set forth, whether we adopt them exactly, or make amendments, or make bylaws or zonings for the town. Where do we want to have it grown? Where do we want to have sales signs? Do we want to have it uptown next to the shop? We have to decide as a community where we want this to take place, if it's going to take place. So that the laws are coming. Once they're coming, that's our starting, our jump point to see what we want to do.
Assuming that all that decision-making isn't made for you by the state's regulatory structure, correct?
Very true.
So if the state's regulatory structure comes down first and it lays that groundwork for you, then the town is willing to abide by the state's regulatory structure, correct?
We would have.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
But that wouldn't prevent them from putting in their own regulations, so. All right, any other questions on the motion? Zoning amendment, right? 2/3 vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Unanimous, thank you. Article 21, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to transfer a certain parcel being a portion of the former Station Road to Joseph J.
We voted on the amendment, but we did not vote on the article.
We voted on the motion as amended by a friendly amendment by the person who made the motion. Okay, well, I disagree, but thank you. Article 21, Jim, any issue with that? No, okay. Article 21, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to transfer a certain parcel being a portion of the former Station Road to Joseph J. Banowski for a sum of money and such other conditions as may be determined by the board or take any action in relation thereto.
Good evening. My name is Philip Hubbard, soon to be a retired interim town administrator. I want to explain this article a little bit. Mr. Banowski is here. If you refer to the second to the last page of your book, you'll see the plan in question. Mr. Banowski used to live at 42 Station Road. The town road, Station Road, went right in front of his house apparently. The road was relocated in 1985, and Mr. Banowski would like to relocate his septic system from the rear of the property to the front of the property so he can pass Title V inspection and ultimately sell the property to a buyer. He originally asked for an easement, but I think it's in his interest to actually have a deed to the parcel. And I researched this. It's about 5,200 square feet. I think the fair market value is about $4,000. So I'm suggesting that the town sell the parcel to Mr. Banowski. The parcel currently, where the road used to go, is really of no value to the town itself. So my motion is, I move that the town vote to authorize the selectmen to transfer a certain parcel being a portion of the former Station Road to Joseph J. Banowski for a sum of money in the amount of $4,000 and such of the conditions as determined by the board, in that Mr. Banowski will be responsible for survey, legal recording, and other transaction costs.
Motion is made and seconded, Finance Committee. They don't care. Is there any discussion on the motion? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it is. It was relocated in 1985. It sort of goes up a little grade and then goes off to the right. You can see that on the plan in the back of the booklet.
The question is, will this affect the use of Station Road?
Oh no, it was reviewed by the Department of Public Works, and they're satisfied with the proposal.
Thank you. Any other questions on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous, thank you. Article 22, to see if the town will accept General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53F and 3/4, which establishes a special revenue fund known as the PEG Access and Cable Related Fund, to reserve cable franchise fees and other cable-related revenues for appropriation to support PEG access service and oversight and renewal of the cable franchise agreement. The fund to begin operation for fiscal year 2018, which begins July 1st, 2017, and taking action in relation thereto. So,
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town of Barry accept general laws, Chapter 44, Section 53F and 3/4, which establishes a special revenue fund known as the PEG or PEG Fund, Access and Cable Related Fund, to reserve cable franchise fees and other cable-related revenues for appropriation to support PEG access services and oversight and renewal of cable franchise agreement. The fund to begin operation for fiscal year 2018, which begins on July 1st, 2017.
motion made and seconded, Finance Committee. Favorable recommendation from the Finance Committee. Any discussion on the motion? Yes. What is PEG?
Public education government.
You're welcome. Any other questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Article 23, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available funds a sum of money to operate PEG access and cable expense and taking action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to authorize expending up to $75,000 from the PEG revolving fund for PEG access pursuant to Mass General Law 44, Section 53.25 for fiscal year 2000, beginning July 1st, 2017.
Motion's made and seconded, Finance Committee. Favorable recommendation from the Finance Committee. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous, thank you. Article 24, to see if the town will vote to amend the code of the town of Barry, Chapter 140 zoning, by amending the zoning map dated May 4, 2009, referred to at 140-4A, to include the property situated at the corner of Stetson and Warren Roads as shown on Worcester Registry of Deeds Plan Book 924, Plan 56, and also shown on Assessors Map H as parcel 158 and part of 159B in the business and commercial district and taking action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the code of the town of Barry, Chapter 140 zoning, by amending the zoning map dated May 4th, 2009, referred to at 140-4A, to include the property situated at the corner of Stetson and Loring Roads, as shown on Worcester Registry of Deeds, Plan Book 926, Plan 56, and also shown on Assessor's Map H as parcel 158 and part of 159B in the business and commercial district.
Motion made and seconded, Finance Committee. No recommendation, Planning Board? Planning Board recommends approval. Is there any discussion on the motion? Would you like to tell us anything about your motion?
just describe the property that we propose, just the area. It's the auxiliary parking lot, the former auxiliary parking lot for the Pine Ridge ski area, which we purchased there. Our residents, give me the... so our residence now is here. Actually, bear with me. I'll bring this with me. So this is where we live now. This is the proposed property here. This would be Stetson Road. This is Lauren Road. There's the existing bar business here, repair garage. This is the EJP Prescott. Also a solar farm here. This is the leach field for Bob Regional. So the line goes down through here. There'll be no houses or anything here. We own the property here. I own the property down here. And there's a big buffer zone from 32 in the houses here to here to here. So the only working zone would be right over there. Here.
Thank you. Are there any questions on the motion? Yes, sir. What do you plan on putting there?
We do have several business ideas. There is a next to market component that we're kind of afraid of disclosing right away, just because there's a limited amount of clientele. There is enough for our proposed thing, so it's at this point. What I can say is that it will conform to any bylaws in the town. There is actually an existing business in town that does this, so it's not anything new. It's not marijuana.
Yes, sir.
At this time, it could be both.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Not at all.
No air pollution effects from the anticipated use. Yes, sir.
Any estimation of new jobs from change over this?
It probably wouldn't affect that because it most likely would be a sole proprietorship.
Thank you. Any other questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous? Thank you. Article 25, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from free cash to stabilization and taking action in relation thereto.
All right. I'd like to start off, before I make my next motion, take a moment to also continue to extend certain gratitudes and thanks for efforts that some people in town have gone above and beyond, because we have been in transition with an interim town administrator, and we've been working through a lot of difficulties due to that process with the turnover we've had in personnel over the last year. And so kind of as we opened with the thanks to the members of specifically our employment base, I would like to say thank you to Jean Joel, the accountant, in the effort in helping build this budget. Also, we'll continue with Faye, but specifically I want to speak to the interim town administrator. I think Phil has done an amazing job for us in the interim. He came into a situation where, without running a town before, he had to find a place to fill in the gaps and help keep things moving. And it's not an easy thing in the current situation that we were under. So I just want to say thank you very much for the effort he put in. It's not quite done yet. We have decided on our final candidate. We made a decision. He's in the House. Mr. Andrew Golis here. We have got to continue with negotiations on him. And so the timeline for Phil's exit isn't quite over, but it's close. But I do want to just really say thank you, Phil. Mr. Moderator, I'd like to make a motion that the town vote to transfer $344,282 from free cash to stabilization.
Motion's made, seconded, Finance Committee. Finance Committee recommends favorably on this motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Everyone wants to go home. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous, thank you. Before you leave, Dennis, I would also like to thank the FinCom, Board of Selectmen, and everyone else here who did a great job. I am also reappointing, whether they like it or not, Ted Florod, Mark Stady, and Stephanie Hardy to the Finance Committee. Thank you. And thank you everyone for coming. Motion to adjourn. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Have a great night.